Something really interesting is happening with the whole Chuck E. Cheese story. And it's reminding me of a story that I was told a long time ago. And it has to do with Transformers. So, in the current narrative, the circus has captured a boy and has determined that this boy had some relationship to Transformers, and that somehow explains why he might have decided to go after the Chuck E. Cheese. And so I think we should talk about Transformers because I've got a great story about Transformers. So a Transformer is a person who is, when you first get them, they come in a package that looks one way. And then when you take them home and unwrap them, and it turns out that they can be transformed into something else completely. So maybe you get a car and you're like, oh, I got a car. And then it turns out when you take it home, it turns into a tree, like an action figure who's female. And so these Transformers, when they first come out of the box or the womb, they look one way, and then later they look another way. And so these are Transformers. Now, Transformers used to be popular back in the day, but then at a certain point, for some reason, people started to think that Transformers were a bad idea and that you shouldn't allow kids to play with Transformers. It was bad for them. And so this whole kind of campaign got created to remove Transformers from the classrooms, remove Transformers from the athletic spaces, and to remove But there's a spiritual significance to these Transformers. They're not here by accident. And so it's really important that we recognize that there's a really good reason why this is a topic of conversation right now. So what were the toy makers' original plans when they designed Transformers? Like the great toy maker, foundational toy maker who creates toys, why would that toy maker create a toy that when you buy it right out of the box, it looks like one thing, and then later it turns into something else? Like, what was the whole point of that? Some people might wonder. And the Transformers also wonder this. And so one day a Transformer came to me and asked me this question. And so I asked my guides, and my guides gave me a really interesting answer about the spiritual significance and purpose of Transformers. And this is what they said. They said that currently on planet Earth, we have a problem. And the problem that we have is that we have this real focus on binaries. Binaries are this idea of there being kind of these matched sets of things that are opposites. And so black, white, male, female, good, bad, these are binaries. And while it can be a useful concept, binaries, in some arenas, humanity has kind of taken it too far. And the wise one said that humanity has become so obsessed with binaries that they are having a hard time really understanding reality. It's become a real obstacle, to understanding this barrier, this kind of narrow-minded way of seeing the world that really prevents people from actually seeing the world. Because when you believe in binaries, then everything you encounter in the world has to be categorized as one or the other. So you see a tree. Is it a good tree or a bad tree, right? Is it a tree that is going to provide fruit and feed the people? Or is it a tree that's going to produce poison and poison the people? Do we need to cut it down? And the problem with binaries like this is that they don't really encapsulate the nature of reality. There's a lot of trees out there, and some of them, produce poison, and some of them produce fruit, and some of them produce other things like scented flowers, or some of them are just minding their own business and they don't do anything to humanity. They just don't contribute or harm humanity. But if you're thinking in terms of binaries, like if you're a gardener who's been taught that everything is good, bad, black, white, male, female, right? Then you're going to have to figure out a way to classify every tree in your garden and decide this tree gets to live, this tree doesn't. And so what the great toy maker decided to do was to send some toys to humanity that could not be classified easily, or if they were classified, then they would later be found to be misclassified, right? So they sent these transformer toys down. And when the transformer toys showed up, like nobody really knew what was going to come. They were just like, oh, this is a cute little car in a plastic box. Oh, I love cars. I wanted a car. I ordered a car and I got a car. But then the thing about these transformer toys is that at some point later in the future, you know, they got the toys in the house. They got this cute little car in the house. And then all of a sudden one day the car turns into a doll. And some people thought that was cool and interesting. And other people were like alarmed, like, wait, that's not what I ordered. I ordered a car. This is not okay. Okay, it's like funny and not funny at the same time. You know what I mean? But we got to laugh. And so the thing is, the great toy maker said that the reason that they were sending down these transformer toys was because they were trying to disrupt binaries. Like they were trying to get humanity to stretch beyond this really narrow way of thinking, because this narrow way of thinking was really preventing humanity from engaging in evolution, ascension, shifting consciousness, expanded awareness, right? It was really stunting their spiritual growth. And so they sent these transformer toys because they said, okay, this is going to challenge people and it's going to make them recognize that, you know, binaries don't always work. They're useful in some circumstances. In other circumstances, they're just not useful at all. And they chose to send a certain kind of transformer toy down because they decided that this was the binary that was kind of really, really foundational to humanity. They were so invested in this one binary that if you were to disrupt that binary, it would cause people to begin to question all binaries. And this was the pink-blue binary. They were like, the pink-blue binary, if we could get people to begin to think in terms of like purple and lavender and whatnot, that's going to bleed into them having an understanding of other binaries being problematic. And so the spiritual significance of these transformer toys was to come to planet Earth and to disrupt this idea of a blue-pink binary so that they could help humanity spiritually grow and expand. And I was reminded of this story because the guide said that this story is really relevant to what's going on today, that it's not an accident that the Transformers are becoming a big topic of conversation now in the context of the circus. And it's also not an accident that the song from the 1920s, Strange Fruit, is gaining in popularity again, that the song from the 60s, Mississippi Goddam, is becoming popular again. Because the black-white binary is also foundational, at least to this particular realm. And so as the main circus started to fight with smaller circuses, like the Turning Circus and the Groupie Circus, when they started fighting with them, one of the ways that they decided to fight with them was to actually, start removing leadership from the smaller circuses so that they wouldn't be a threat anymore. And then after removing leadership, to blame that on these other people and to pick certain people that were their enemies that they wanted everyone to focus on. And so they decided to pick the Transformers, and they decided to pick the people with the faces of black. And this is because these binaries are fundamental to the circus: the black-white binary, the good-bad binary, the pink-blue binary. And so the way the villagers fight back against this is they celebrate the Transformers and they celebrate the people with the back of the hand color. They started to unify, gather around these people, circle the wagons. They spoke out against it. They demanded answers. They called these people sacred. We have to protect the sacred.